I'm Reyna.
And I'm Megan. Welcome to the Shh, Don't Talk About It podcast, where we talk about all the things we need to say out loud but think that we can't. Welcome to episode 6.
Let's talk about sex, baby. But before we get into this, what are we gonna do?
We're gonna crack
them claws, baby. Oh, yes.
Yay.
Cheers.
Cheers, girl.
This is a fun episode.
Yeah, we're excited about this one. What are we talking about today?
Fucking sex.
Obviously, you just sang it. But yeah, we're talking not just about sex, but about women reclaiming our sexuality.
Absolutely.
Saying fuck you.
Fuck you.
To slut shame.
Yes. To the fucking shamers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Let us have sex, please.
And to the double standard.
Yes, there's such a double standard around this shit.
Yeah.
Forever and ever and ever and ever.
Since forever. What were you just telling me about the show you're watching?
Well, I'm sure. Bridgerton, y'all. Bridgerton on Netflix. Yeah, it's a period piece. So back in the day.
Go back to episode 3.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's like back in the day where the royal courts, all that shit, where they couldn't even hold hands. They couldn't even be alone together. They couldn't do anything. Well, the guys could do that, but the women and the girls, because they were like girls, they were like teenagers, they couldn't do anything. And if they did, they'd get shamed, or they would have to fucking get married to these gross fuckers, you know? Like, it's a good show, but it just reminds me of how long this has been going on for.
Yeah, I mean,
women aren't allowed to claim their sexuality
at all, and it pisses me off because sex has been used against women since literally the dawn of time, and yet our bodies are wired to experience pleasure, and our brains are wired to seek pleasure. But it's been used, the biological impulse to seek pleasure has been used against us since time fucking immemorial.
I know. And
I'm sick of it. And it's the year 2021. We have Megan Thee Stallion. We have Cardi B. We have all of these like sex positive role models out there. And it's still too
Amber Rose.
and it's still considered like too dangerous for a woman to fully embody and claim her sexuality.
Yes, which is some bullshit because it's a trap. Anywhere you go, we're fucking trapped, whether we're too sexual or not sexual enough, you know? Like, what is a lady or whatever the fuck, you know? It's always trying to, like, measure up to some ideal, some standard, and if you don't, you're fucked. Like, you do, you know, either way, the fucking saying goes.
You're a prude or you're a whore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of feels like men, in the most like stereotypical way of thinking about it, want us to be both.
Oh yes, for sure.
Like I want to freak in the sheets and a lady in the streets.
Yes.
Or something. I fucking hate that saying.
Yeah.
There's so many things I hate about this.
I know.
Because I've always been a very sexually curious person. And I didn't know that was a bad thing until I was told at church that it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I think I even shared, I don't remember, I think it was in episode 1, like, I learned about sex when I was 6 years old.
Right.
Because my mom was pregnant with my sister, and I had questions, so they got this really funny book called Where Do I Come From? From the 70s. It's, oh God, I would give it. If anyone knows where to find that book, like, please tell me. I would give anything to own it. But my mom read it to me. It does a good job just explaining sex. It actually explains an orgasm as, like, it feels like when you really have to sneeze and then you sneeze.
Oh.
Which is kind of accurate.
Yeah, I mean, it feels great.
And I just remember my little 6-year-old mind being fucking blown. And then my mom checked it out from the library, and it was time to return it, and she, like, couldn't find it because I had taken it and put it under my pillow. I slept with it under my pillow because I was so fascinated by this, which is really, it's really natural. And then I learned a few years later that was bad and to be ashamed of it, and that all of these feelings that I was feeling about my body were
Church.
bad and shameful and to be hidden away. And, you know, and then you get all this horrible in like the purity movement messaging about like, you're just like a precious rose.
Oh,
like,
God.
Maintain your purity for your
Here's
husband.
your ring, purity ring, or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah.
Did you have one?
No, my little sister did.
Oh.
And I found it when I was in college and I stole it from her and wore it, ironically, because by then I was hoeing. And I was just like, what was it? Choose the Right. It's called Choose the Right.
Oh,
CTR.
yes, I've seen that. Oh, my God.
And, so I wore it as like an ironic pinky ring. But yeah, I mean, all of that to say, like, it's such an unfair double standard, and it is really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know about you, but I found that just confusing as a young person. Like, I feel these things in my body. This feels good. Also, it's bad, so it feels good, and I feel shame. I'm supposed to be, like, cute and sexy, but not too sexy. It's just, like, there's so many rules.
So many rules.
And you don't really know what they are or where the lines are.
No, because you're like one thing that you're feeling, and then there's society, then there's fucking your friends or your, you know what I mean? There's just so much shit. Like, you don't even know what to do, but you want to do something. You know, when I was in adolescence, I was a fucking very sexual, you know, person, and I don't know. I don't remember feeling shameful about that. But I got a lot of shit for it.
You did?
You know, a lot of shame from from people, you know, because kids in fucking high school and junior high, you know, can be really mean.
Yeah, like in high school, junior high, being called a slut is like the worst thing you can be called.
Yeah.
At least that's how it was in like the schools I went to. Like,
And it's
she's
fucked
a slut.
up. Yeah. And it's fucked up because I guess technically I was, if you want to fucking, you know, but
what does that even mean?
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like technically because I slept with a lot of people, I was a fucking slut, but this is the way and the tone of it, you know, like we need to take that word back. That's like the whole like
100%.
slut shame walk and all the things, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's what it really comes down to is fucking boys feeling so inadequate of themselves, and they have to like put this on girls, you know, and then girls do that to each other. I was fucking guilty of that. I slept with a lot of people when I was younger, but I definitely called some girls sluts and little hood rats, and you know what I mean, because I was that girl that had nothing but guy friends, you know, and maybe one girlfriend. The rest of them were dudes, and I was a fucking, I guess, quote, dude, you know, like, I just did whatever the fuck I wanted, and sure, people call me a slut and whatever, but it didn't stop me, or I didn't feel ashamed of it, because I felt like, no, I'm the fucking player, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a player. Mm-hmm. This is my game. You know, like, why can't I be? So, yeah, it was, I mean, probably my family gave me the most shit, I would think, you know, even still saying I was a little slut back in the day.
Oh, that's so hard to hear from family.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, you have siblings and some aren't so nice, you know, and they make fun of you and whatever, but, you know, when I look back at the time period of when I was doing all this shit, I'm like, I was not in, even if I was, I don't even know. I can't even say that, because even if I was in a good place in my life, would I have been sexual? I'm sure I would. I've always been a sexual creature ever since I was like a kid, like little, like, oh, I'm rubbing on something and that feels good. You know what I mean? And then
yes, because our bodies are built for pleasure.
Yes.
Now that doesn't mean that like as a teen we're like ready to like take on the world, and like, you know, there's a lot that you're figuring out emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm just saying like our bodies are built for pleasure, and we like need to have experiences with like good boundaries and consent and support, like all throughout the like developmental lifespan. God, I sound like a fucking therapist, but like throughout our life.
It's true though, because whether it was, y'all, we're wearing some fucking
Oh yeah.
Booty shots.
For the people who are listening and not watching, we decided, I texted Reyna, I was like, should we dress like hoes, quotation marks, for the sex episode? And we agreed yes. And these outfits are uncomfortable.
Yes. And I was like, oh, you mean like where would I normally wear it?
No, I was like, actually, it's just my going out clothes that I miss. Anyway.
No, but you're so right, because like sexuality could mean all sorts of things, you know, whether I had one boyfriend throughout my youth that I had sex with a lot, or if I had multiple partners, you know what I mean? Either way, it was sex. It was sexual, and I experienced a lot of it when I was a youth, and I don't feel bad about that, you know.
I don't think you should, and I think that like something that I find so problematic about the word slut or the word whore or any term to describe a woman who's sexually empowered in a negative way, it is dehumanizing. And then I feel like it becomes the platform for an excuse when women are abused, assaulted, subjected to sexual experiences that they're not consenting to. I mean, it completely, it's such a clear line from like slut and whore to just rape culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's what bothers me so much about it.
Totally.
Like, I can be a very sexually empowered woman who enjoys sexual experiences and still not want to have it sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think that line gets really fuzzy in the culture, and these are terms that are used against us to dehumanize us and create excuses for the ways in which our bodies are abused and exploited.
Totally.
I don't know. It just really, like, the words just really bother me for that reason.
Well, yeah, because then dudes have or people think they have an idea of who you are or what you want, and then they like just think they can come on to you or touch you when you're like, wait, no, you can't fucking touch me. You know what I mean? Just because I was with your friend does not mean I'm going to be with you too.
I like sex, but not with you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I've definitely had that happen to me where I'm like, your hand is on my leg. Like, no. Like, just because like you think of me as a slut because I was with your friend or maybe your other friend too. You know what I mean? But doesn't mean I'm going to be with you, motherfucker. Yeah. You know?
So you had sex used against you then?
Yeah.
At times in your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but you know, I don't know. There was just, kids are mean, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't stop me from exploring my sexuality, which, you know.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think adolescence and early 20s, like, that's when we need to be figuring that stuff out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so, did you ever feel shamed?
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like every episode I'm like, and then religion fucked me up.
Well,
but yeah, I mean, I departed from like my Christian beliefs by high school, but that stuff does stick to you. And then even if you grow up completely without religion in your life, there is still just the way that sex gets used against adolescent girls. And so, you know, I experienced that, but I think in a different way than you, because my sophomore year of high school, I got into a relationship with my high school sweetheart, and we stayed together until we broke up my freshman year of college. So he was like my first consensual experience of a lot of things. But that doesn't mean that so I wasn't like hooking up with a lot of different people, but that still doesn't mean that I escaped judgment from peers around like just different exploration that we were doing. And we were together for 2.5 years before we ever even like actually had sex, but it was still just like people knew we were doing things. Yeah. You know, just like figuring shit out in that like awkward way that like 15 and 16-year-olds do. And people knew about it, and it definitely got talked about a little bit. But I mostly just brushed it off as, like, some kind of weird jealousy. I don't know. I mean, he was also, like, my best friend. It was mostly just, like, us as a unit, and I tried not to feel too bad about it.
Yeah.
But then after that relationship ended, when I was in college, I definitely went through a phase where I was working a lot of things out emotionally, physically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's my teenage years.
Yeah. And I look at that, I think about that time in my life, and I had a lot of, like, very non-committal physical interactions with people, and there was certainly judgment that came my direction, especially from the dudes in my friend group. And I was thinking about that time in my life, like, I think that the shame was unwarranted. I also think that I wasn't necessarily approaching sex from, like, the most healthy and empowered place. I think I was acting out some emotional pain, and actually using physical intimacy as a way to not feel emotions. And I don't regret it. And I'm glad that I've developed a different perspective now. Because there's a lot of people that I don't think I would have wanted to, like, spend time with in that way if I was, like, actually, like, paying attention. But I was also, like, a confused, bipolar 19-year-old, and I did learn a lot about myself during that time. But it also made things harder. Like, I remember my college boyfriend, when he and I got together, he really struggled with my history in a way that was, like, totally rooted in his own insecurities. But it was actually, like, a pretty big issue between us, and, like, I remember being pushed to, like, share my number, which I think is a really gross thing. Like, the number,
what number? Like, your phone number?
No, like, the number of people that you've slept with.
Oh, God.
Like, I remember this really, like, high-pressure conversation that we had about this, and I was like, I just don't understand why this is a relevant question, or, like, why I'm being forced to give you this information, and I do not advocate people sharing that information with each other, because your past is your past. Who gives a shit? So, like, I think actually, as I'm thinking this through, like, I experienced the most probably sex shaming in that relationship because I was with somebody who was pretty insecure himself. He wasn't a total dick. He was actually, like, a really good boyfriend, and I was actually a really bad girlfriend, and we will get to that probably in another episode. But I think that's the person who I remember feeling, like, experiencing the most shame from, and that's really sad, and it was just rooted in his insecurities.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's when I feel like men do, like boys, I mean, lash out is when they feel insecure, or their manhood gets, like, you know, they feel whatever. But I'm glad that you brought it up about you know, the emotional and physical sex, because that's definitely, you know, and looking back at the choices that I fucking made as a youth, you know, definitely I was going through the very similar thing where I was working things out, you know, and I switched sex around where it was I was in control.
Yes.
You know, because I wasn't in control before that, and so I used sex as like to empower myself, and I would not let people use me. I used them. That was my whole fucking thing when I was a teenager. It's like, you're not going to use me. I'm going to use you. I'm going to fucking play you. Like, I just used sex as my own source of empowerment.
Yeah.
And because of all the shit that I was going through during that time period and before that time period. And I know a lot of people in school definitely saw me as a slut, or, you know, that I was just a fucking whore or whatever, you know what I mean? But to me, I was just like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck you. Like, I'm doing me, and I'm not gonna let anybody use me or play me, you know? I'm gonna just, like, do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, so for you, sex was something that you were experiencing as a way to reclaim yourself.
Yes, and my body.
And your body.
Yeah.
And you were an adolescent, so you were doing that in, like, ways that you might not do now. But it was, but even now, like in our like my late 30s and your, I don't want to say you're in your 40s and you're
No,
40,
I am 4D.
I still find sometimes like I experience sex as a way to connect with myself and understand things about myself, and it's just that now I'm older, and so it's less transactional, and I'm more able to connect it to like, I don't know, it feels more complex now. It's like connected to like,
it is. It's like, emotional.
Yeah, it's emotional, it's physical, but it is still something through which I experience a deeper understanding of myself.
Yeah.
And a deeper understanding of relationships. I think it's a great exploratory tool.
It is.
Personally.
Yes. And especially if you have a partner that, you know, is down for that too.
Yeah.
But I, you know, honestly, so I've been with my partner for 16 years, and fucking the night that I met him, so I can tell you that shit doesn't really change much. Like I like to have sex, or I don't like to fucking wait, basically. Like if I want to have sex, I want to have sex, you know? And he wouldn't have sex with me that night. And I remember, and I was like, are we just going to do a lot of dry humping? Like, what's happening? Like, my legs hurt. But he wouldn't have sex. So we didn't have sex the first night, and that was because he didn't, you know? And I was like, well, that's sweet, but come on. But then the next night I did go over there, and I was like, all right, are we going on a date, or are we, and then of course we got it in, and we've been together for 16 years now, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just that type of person, you know? Like, if I want to have sex, or if I want to do something, normally I would just fucking do it and not think so much about it.
Like, if it feels right, you go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the moment. I'm like in the moment type of person, you know, which I'm getting back to. Medicine helps, y'all. Medicine helps.
What I'm finding myself enjoying so much about your story is that, like, it's pretty shameless. Like, people, you're like, yeah, like, people would try to say this shit about me, but I didn't really care. Like, just the whole thing, you're just like this. If I want something, if I want to have sex, I'm going to do it. And I don't actually hear from you a lot of, like, I don't hear any regret. I don't hear any shame. I hear, like, this is just how I am. I think that's what I took from all of it, because I don't have any, I remember all the fucking things that people would say and all the different people that I was with, and some of them I'm like, oh my god, gross, why would I do that, you know what I mean? But it's like, whatever, it is what it is, it's done. But there's a sense of, like, you know, even I didn't let shame, like, stop me from, like, doing what I wanted to do, you know? And I just had a whole idea behind it. And some people can think of it as, you know, I was, or some people can take pity on me, or, like, something must have happened to me, you know, to, like, make me do that kind of thing. And sure, yeah, something did fucking happen to me as a kid, but I don't think that was why I am a sexual being. I've always was. Like, even when I was a kid, like 4 or 5, like, I remember being really, like, I don't like into sex. Not like sex, but you know what I mean? Like masturbation, you know? So, and pleasing myself, and I didn't think anything was wrong with that. My siblings definitely shamed me for that and said I was, like, doing the nasty or whatever. I fucking hate that word even to this day. So masturbation more so makes me feel more dirtier than sex itself. Yeah. You know, I'm really glad you brought that up, because, I mean, as I've talked about, I'm a therapist. I don't think I've shared that my specific area of practice is I work exclusively with people who have survived a sexual assault. And there is this stigma, like, if you are a woman, or a female identified person who enjoys sex and is claiming their sexuality, there is this, like, what happened to you? As if enjoying a natural biological process is inherently a response to something bad, and it's not. Now, certainly, some trauma survivors may, like, reenact parts of their sexual trauma, like, that can be a response, but it's not always, and a sexually empowered woman is not necessarily acting out that sexual empowerment because they've experienced something bad. They might just really enjoy their body. They might just really enjoy other people's bodies. They might just really enjoy connecting in that way. And I just hate the trope of the damaged sexual woman.
Yes.
Because we don't treat men that way, and it just implies that there's something
wrong with you. Yes.
About enjoying your body. And it's a way to trap us, it's a way to control us, and it's just like completely false.
Yeah.
I think for myself, I think about it now, like I do think back on certain experiences, and I think about like what's the motivation that the behavior was coming from, and I can notice some instances where perhaps it was a bit of a trauma response, and I noticed other instances, especially as I progressed into my later 20s and 30s, where it was like, I'm just learning stuff about myself.
Yeah.
Like, this is a way that I'm learning stuff about myself, and I just hate so much the trope of the sexual woman is a damaged woman.
Yes.
Or the concept of like damaged goods. And I can't tell you how many clients I've had who are worried that they're quote unquote damaged goods. When I'm like, no. Like it breaks my heart that we live in a world where like the culture has fed them that message, and it makes healing from an assault so much more difficult.
I'm sure. And it's interesting because I have a friend from high school. We met in junior year in high school, and we were both very sexual, not with each other, but we were just, we hung out a lot and would meet guys and whatever, and she was so fucking sexual, like, and she still is, and we're still in touch, and she's been with a lot of people, and she always says that same fucking thing. She's just like, yeah, people think that I've, something happened to me when I was a kid because I'm so sexual and I'm so like, but she's like, but no, nothing, there's nothing that happened. I wasn't abused. I wasn't, my parent, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so that whole thing is she just loves sex,
Yes.
She's just a sexual being.
If you're connected to your body, if you're connected to your emotions, if you are responding, not reacting, if you're making conscious choices, like these are all good things. It's I think where it can become something to like explore is like, I feel like I'm doing this compulsively, or it's coming from a place where I'm like reacting, or I don't know why I'm doing this and I don't like it. Like for me, when I think about like where does behavior become harmful, it's when you don't feel like you're in control of it, you don't feel good about it internally.
You're like crying your way through sex. Yes. Yeah, and I've done that before.
Yeah, but there's nothing inherently broken or bad about enjoying it.
No, not at all. And it's like, it's crazy because there's so much shame about that sometimes I do feel like dirty, you know what I mean? When I'm really enjoying it, or, like shit gets in my head, a lot. And so, I just have to remind myself and just take control over my own body and my own being, and not like let that shit like in there. I mean, when I was a kid, none of that was in there. I was very free-spirited, very free, open, all of that. And then just as you get older, you start becoming a little bit more, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how do we feel about it now?
I mean, I just refuse to feel shame about enjoying everything that my body can do, including experiencing a lot of pleasure during sex.
Yeah.
And I really do feel like it's something that, like, if you fully open yourself up to the physical possibilities for yourself, you can learn a lot about yourself. There's a therapist I really like, Esther Perel. She has a podcast called Where Should We Begin? She's like oh my god, she's amazing. I could go on forever, but she's a couples therapist, and works a lot with people on like issues related to like sex and desire in their relationships. And she has this quote where she says, sex is not something you do, it's somewhere you go. And that is how I think about it now.
Yeah.
So and I think when you think about it, it's it's not a function your body's performing. I mean, it is a function your body's performing.
Sure.
But it is also
you go
a place
somewhere.
that you go. You go somewhere. You go on a journey, and yes, of course, it's about your partner, and ideally, both people are having a really great time. But through the journey of experiencing something where you are completely in your body, where you are wholly connected to yourself, and then ideally, in the best circumstances, also wholly connected to another person. I don't know. I find it a very powerful learning experience.
Yeah.
About the depth, the emotional and physical depths that we're capable of going to. I don't know if that sounds
I love
weird,
that. No,
but
it doesn't at all.
That is how I think about sex these
because
days.
that's a great. I'm inspired by that. Because honestly, I get in my head a lot. You know, especially with foreplay, I'm like, there's too much time to think right now. You know what I mean? Let's just fuck. Because I do let things enter my head, and then I start, and then that once those thoughts come in, then you're like, oh, why am I thinking about my mom? Why am I thinking about my nephew? Oh my God, get out of here!
Why am I trying to remember what groceries I need?
Yes, I'm just like, what the
during...
fuck? Because then once you focus on those thoughts. Anyway, I'm working on those. Actually, they've been much, much better. But seeing it as a journey, just going into this whole other realm, that's exciting. You go into some other dimension, some other behind the veil, because you are in this different shift, this energy shift,
Yeah, I really that's how I think about it now. And then sometimes I'm like, is that selfish? That I'm like, what is this experience I'm having going to teach me about myself? And I'm like, no, it's not selfish. The other person's having a great time as well.
Yeah.
But I just, when I heard her say that, it's not something you do, it's somewhere you go. I was like, that is so right on. And I think that when you're having sex that you're not super excited about, it doesn't feel like that. And so that's the other kind of gauge for me. I don't think about it as oh, I can't do this, or I'm a slut, or I should do this, or I'm a prude. It's more just I don't know, what is this experience going to teach me? What am I going to figure out? This is one of the most amazing things about the human condition. Fucking lucky us. Yeah. I don't know. I guess every living creature experiences it, but not every living creature gets to have fun with it. Ducks.
That's true.
Duck sex is so gnarly. Duck penises, do you know about this?
No.
They're shaped like corkscrews.
What?
So the lady ducks are not having any fun. Or cat penises have barbs on them.
What?
So the lady cats are not having any fun. So, we're lucky as primates. Primates and dolphins, we get to experience pleasurable sex. And it's a gift. And we shouldn't waste it by feeling shame about it.
I know. Yes, and what's helped me is just, having a partner for so long.
Yeah.
And we've been through it, y'all. We have been through it.
Someone who you can really trust.
Yeah, but we've had in the beginning where you fuck all the fucking time because you just can't keep your hands off each other, and then times when we fight about sex, and he wants it and I don't want it, and it's what are we even fucking doing? You know what I mean? But we're in a good place right now. We can communicate, and I've learned to he has his needs, I have mine, and we have our love languages, and so yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it now. I'm in a good place with it now. I had a hard time over the last few years with sex, only because of what has happened in the past. But I've been working through that, and I'm not going to let that shit fucking take my sensuality away. Sensuality?
Don't let it take sensuality.
Sensuality.
Just don't let, that's such
because
a
I was always a sexual being. I remember in first grade, having my first, thing,
Your first thing meaning masturbation, right?
No. I was younger with my masturbation.
Oh, what happened in first grade?
I mean, it was under the bed with some...
I'll show you mine if you show me
Kind
yours,
of, with like another, but it was a girl.
It's so, once again, so normal.
A couple times, actually.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, you know what I mean? And then having my first kiss when I was in second grade. Like, I've always was fucking sex crazed, you know? And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, Reyna. Go home and fuck tonight, all right?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, and I think that, like, this is where our lack of, like, sex education and where sex shame that we, like, our generation was raised in, certainly in, like, school, like, there's no comprehensive sex education. Like, if you have children, they don't come with a manual, and so a lot of parents don't understand what is, like, totally normal and, like, developmentally natural and appropriate in terms of kids, even very young kids, like, noticing and exploring their bodies.
Yes.
And so that should get shut down really
quickly.
you
get shamed so young in life, and you're like, oh, I'm not allowed to feel pleasure. I'm not allowed to pleasure myself.
Yeah, instead of, like, this is a natural way that our bodies feel sometimes. You know, it's important that, like, these are private things.
Right.
It's important
that we,
like,
you don't, like, go,
in private.
Ew,
yeah.
gross.
But, like, I think all of our parents probably reacted as, like, oh, God. I do think little boys probably get this more than little girls. Stop touching yourself. Because I feel like little boys, like, because they figure out their penises.
Yeah.
And, like,
they just have, like, this appendage hanging off of them.
And a person can get an erection pretty young. It doesn't mean anything. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
So, like, they always have their fucking hands down their pants. They're always touching their balls. Like, get your hands out of your pants. And, like, that immediately, like, sends a message, like, that's wrong, instead of just having a conversation about, like, these are some natural things that bodies do.
Yeah.
Here's where we can explore that. Here's where we can't. Mm-hmm. And then, like, there's also so many opportunities to have conversations with your kids really early on about consent and, like, what kind of touching is okay at their age and what kind of touching isn't. But instead it just all gets shut down and you're like, no,
it's
this
bad.
Is bad. Get your hands out of your
bad
hands.
And it's gross.
Yeah, and I think that's just a bummer. Like, we really missed the chance with that.
It really affected me for a long time.
I bet.
Like, a long time.
Yeah.
Where I felt really shameful. And now I don't. Obviously, I'm fucking talking about it. I would never admit that I used to fucking, like, hump things, you know? I was a little humper.
Literally everybody.
And that was, like, one of the reasons, like, I had, like, I went through a thing where, like, I don't want to have... If I had a kid, I wouldn't want a girl because I wouldn't want to go through that whole thing with her. Like, if I saw her doing that, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, because then I just immediately thought about how I was treated.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, but I was just horny little whatever. I just liked to pleasure myself. It felt good. So I did it. And then I was shamed for it, you know? Yeah. So no shame in any of that, y'all. Like, fucking play with your bodies, you know? It's fun.
Well, yes, it is. And
oh yes, let's talk about positive fucking sex positive role models.
Yeah, just like a few people that, like, really stand out as well. We were talking about oh my God, what video were we Googling before we started? My brain just, like,
let's talk about sex.
Yes, that's
the whole name of this.
Yes,
let's talk about sex, baby.
Yes. Salt and pepper.
Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things.
I felt like they were so sex positive. I really loved them. Oh my God, I have a memory of being in a TJ Maxx, like, trying on, like, ill-fitting dresses in, like, 8th grade, and that song was on, and my mom, like, humming along to it. I was like, ew, Mom, stop. I sex-shamed my mom. Poor Lisa. She always kind of wanted to talk to me about this kind of stuff, and, like, I don't know, a little bit of, I, like, reverse shamed her. I was like, I don't want to know, Mom. But yeah, like, they were great.
They were so good.
Madonna.
Yes, Madonna. Oh my God. Y'all, Madonna was my essence as a kid.
Yes.
In my first grade, okay, I dressed up as Madonna for Halloween. And I had I was wearing belly shirts back then. I still rock a belly shirt. But I carried around a fucking little... whatever, boombox thing, playing like a virgin. I was in first grade.
You just felt it. Janet was always a big one for me.
Yes, Janet.
Yeah. The other night I made Reyna and her partner and my boyfriend watch a lot of Janet Jackson videos because I was like, these are the horniest
Oh my
videos, and
gosh.
I love them. And they hold up for the most part.
There was a
There's
lot
a few
of
problems, but
there was a lot of great artists back in the day that just, like fucking Paula Abdul and Cold Hearted Snake. I was like, I remember watching that video and I was like, oh my god. But I mean, I guarantee, like, Madonna was my fave, and I love that she fucking humped the pillow, and I was like, yes.
you were like, I know that pillow.
I don't hump pillows,
You're like,
I didn't find out about
oh.
humping pillows until later on in life, and I was like, oh, okay.
I never got it. It's not hard.
Huh?
It's not hard. It's a pillow.
I know.
What is it doing for you?
I don't know.
Me neither.
It's kind of hard.
It's not.
I was like, what is this whole pillow humping thing? And
it's
then
feathers.
it's like, you have to like form it into something, and you're like, okay, I don't know. I'd rather just find a corner or something.
Off the rails here.
I don't know. We can talk about sex for days, y'all.
But I think, I think our takeaway, our pearl of wisdom here, at least what I will say is like, I mean, it's literally like the lyric from that song, like, sex is natural, sex is fun. Like, it's nothing to feel ashamed of. If you're feeling shame, interrogate it. Ask yourself, is this coming from external forces? Or am I feeling emotionally off balance? In which case, then that's a moment to like stop and ask yourself some questions.
Yeah,
which is
what
again,
are you doing this for? Why are you doing this?
Yes, which is again why I say that like sexual interactions can be such good educational experiences for us. If you notice you're feeling a little off, and you sit down and think about it, and it's not external like internalized bullshit from the patriarchy, then like that's just good information to have. You still don't need to feel shame. You're just like, oh, I have some information that something might be emotionally off balance for me.
Yeah.
But the shame that's put upon us, the way that it's weaponized against us, the way that it's used to dehumanize us, fuck all that and fuck them.
Literally and figuratively, y'all. Fuck them.
Yep.
Yes, I totally 100% agree with all of that because it's a complicated topic, y'all. Sex is complicated. We make it complicated. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, like, if you just look at the fucking act of it and what it's for, and it's for pleasure, but then because we're human beings and we have minds and stories and all the things, it complicates all of it, but I don't know. This was a good episode, just opening the doors here, to a lot of things.
Yeah, there's so many different directions we could take this, and we will in the future, but
we had to narrow this down. We had so many fucking
but to start out, we just wanted to say fuck you, double standard. Yes. We are allowed to feel good and fully embodied,
and wear short shorts with our asses out.
Right, y'all. Thanks for coming on this journey with us. I hope that you go on a journey with yourself or your partner or partners sexually. You will learn things about yourself if you reframe the way you think about it. In the meantime, tell us your stories. We want to hear your experiences.
We want to fucking hear it, you guys.
Where can they find us? Oh, I interrupted you.
It's okay. No, you didn't. But I was just saying, like, we've been hearing from people through the DMs on Instagram, and we fucking love it. And we want to hear more. So you can share your stories with us by emailing us at info@shhdonttalk.com. That's where you can email us, or you can hit us up on the fucking DMs on Instagram by following us at @shh_don't_talk podcast on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, y'all. Like, we are here. We are accessible.
We're everywhere.
So
you can rate, review, and subscribe. Show us some love. You can find us on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, really any platform.
I think it's Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts. Thank you.
Yes.
I never have to call it. Find us where you find us. Rate, review, and subscribe. And join us next week where we're going to be talking about what it is like to be unmarried and childless and, past 35. We're happy about it, by the way. This is
Yeah,
going to be a
it's a
bummer.
choice.
But, we'll share more with you then.
All right, thank you guys for
Until then,
tuning in.
we love
See you
you.
next time. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.